Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and it is just me again today for this video. Tomorrow Neil will be back. We'll be back together again, and I can't wait because it's so much easier when he is here. I need him here with me. It makes me happier when I do these videos. Today we're going to talk about this article in Variety. And what's going on is they're not understanding why Nelson Peltz and his Trian partners have gained $500 million in value to their shares, but they still aren't happy about it. I think it makes complete sense because his argument, and which I agree with and we're going to talk about, is basically you're just, throwing spaghetti against the wall. And I think you're just putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound, trying to staunch the flow of blood to make investors think that it's healing when it might not be, and it might end up being worse than what it is when the Band-Aid comes off. And he's not wrong. We got some stumbling blocks that they're overlooking. The only thing that they agree with him on, and that I agree with him on this too, was that the Taylor Swift thing's probably a good idea. Because Taylor Swift, whether you like her or not, is arguably one of the most bankable things right now, bankable people out there. And having a deal for her to have her Eras tour on there after how it did really well at the box office was smart. And there's also, speculation that they're going to get her Reputation tour and that was on Netflix. It's off Netflix. Maybe they might be getting that. They've been making these little possible teasers in like some of their commercials and stuff that make you think maybe they're going to do something with Taylor Swift in that regard as well. And, he thinks it's a good idea. I agree with him. That's the one announcement I thought made sense. The other ones, not so much. So we're going to look at this. Before we get into it any further, please like and subscribe. If you do, I'll give you a woohoo. Woohoo. And here's the article. So this is Variety, and they're trying to understand why he's not happy about it. So if those who don't know, Nelson Peltz and his Trian group are trying for 2 board seats on the Disney board to kick off people who've been there for a while that were behind a lot of the bad choices being made to be replaced by them. Him and then be Jay Rasulo, who was the CFO of Disney for years. Blackwell Capital also is looking for, they want 3 seats on the board. They're also fighting Disney. As I said before, if it was just one person or one group, okay, but now you have 2. And you could even argue there was 3 because Value Act Capital was also kind of calling out Disney until Disney made them a little, huggy hug deal on the side that they get to sit there and help them kiss Bob Iger's ass. So according to this article, they're not understanding why Peltz is still upset because his shares are up 16.2% as of Friday. They said that they have probably made about $500 million because they own 32.3 million shares of Disney stock. That a lot of it's like Perlmutter stock. That's worth about $3.6 billion. Now, the stock prices have gone up. It's about 111 now. It was, that's about the highest. It's about 112. So it's close to being what it was at the highest. If you look over here, even a month ago, it was down in the 90s. You can go back even further to that, from that, and you can see it gets low in the 80s. It dropped down to like $79 at one point. Why are they upset? Well, if you look at 5 years to date, here's where it is now. And this is what they're calling a win, all right? Here's what it was, in March 2nd, 2022. Here's what it was, in 2021, $189, $149 in 2022. So 2 years ago. Even a year ago, it's about what it was about a year ago. But it's not like it's doing a whole lot. It's not been going to the numbers we were seeing, throughout the highest highs, even on average. It's staying lower than it was on average. So that's why they're using this opportunity to try to get in. I think it's more to do with the stock. Shareholder value is part of it, but I think that there's a lot that they think they're doing wrong and they wanted to correct. They're talking about how Disney's saying they turned a corner and all this other stuff. And then they're talking about Trian, the letter they sent out, we talked about this in a video, they're throwing spaghetti against the wall to try to appease shareholders, to shut them up, to keep them in there for another year. And like I said then, and I'm going to say again now, if you're able to take your stocks, and we'll just go to the last month, and if you're able to take your stocks from, down here at like $90 or even down to the $80 it was, and jump it up from, $99.14 to $111 by making some promises, why didn't you do it sooner? Like, if you could have changed your stock trajectory at any time by just like going and making a deal at the last minute, why did you wait till the last minute till your backs were against the wall and now you had like 3 places coming after you to do anything? It doesn't make any sense. It's like you're not only doing something because you're forced to do something, and probably as soon as that noose is loosened around your neck, you're going to turn around and slack off again. We're turning a corner. We're turning a corner. Well, the problem is that some of the things they announced are up for question. And that's what he's trying to point out. They're not even finalized. The Epic Games have gotten in trouble in the past, not that long past. Like, we're talking like the claims process. We're telling you how to do the claims process last year, because this all was like the last year or two that they got in trouble for Child Protection Act, and then for something about like the different ways they were, taking money or processing money or things like that, the in-game purchases, which Disney is banking heavily on, and Iger mentioned often. There's like the Federal Trade Commission went after them for these things. They lost. It wasn't just one. It was 2 suits, $245 million for one. And then the child one was like 220 some million or something like that. There was 2 suits that was going on that they lost, and they're settling. So you have that going on. I would argue Fortnite's on the decline, and you're coming in kind of late because Epic probably needs you as much as you need Epic, but doesn't mean that it's going to work or it's going to win. Now, I don't think it's a bad idea to have this world of Disney outside of Fortnite that you can go play. I think it's a good idea. I just think that Epic Games might not be, I know you're going to try to do Fortnite, but I just don't think the Epic Games might be what I would associate with. And I would sure as hell not have got up there and been like, hey, in-game purchases, when they're in trouble for that. And when parents are going to hear that and be like, ooh, and that's what Iger did. The other issue is they're going to scrutinize the Disney Fox Warner sports streaming deal. That was their other big announcement. ESPN and Fox and Warner Bros. Discovery, we're all going on sports, and we're going to have our own streaming thing and all this other stuff. Well, now that has to get through the Justice Department. The Department of Justice has to scrutinize a sports streaming platform planned by Walt Disney, Fox, and Warner Bros. Discovery over concerns it could harm consumers, sports leagues, and rivals. All right. So here we are. They have to get through all the approvals, and they might not get through it because this antitrust lawyer, Seth Bloom, is saying it raises questions about serious competition issues and antitrust issues when you have the largest players in the online distribution of sports getting together and jointly launching a new service. So they're going to have to look at it as an antitrust issues. Is this a monopoly? Are they cornering it? Are they doing something that, we have to break up because it's a problem? Because they said that it's a significant market share. Fubo Sports is saying it's a significant market share, and they said every consumer in America should be concerned about the intent of this joint venture and its impact on fair competition. All right. Consumers may see a benefit to be able to have one coordinated store, says University of California Law San Francisco professor Robin Feldman. But consumer benefit is something that is weighed in the balance of harm to consumers. For example, if the result of the combination is that consumers will have no other choices, then the one store in town ends up with the power to raise prices and impose demands on everyone who wants access. These are the types of issues that competition authorities have to consider. And Disney is known for this shit because when we got Hulu with live TV, it was like $35 a month, and we're at a few years from that, and it's already like $90. As soon as they got the controlling interest in it, they kept raising it, sometimes twice a year. Disney is notorious for it. 100% believe they're going to do this shit because they're trying to make it look like they're actually being profitable and they're making money on this stuff to appease the board. So I don't disagree with Peltz that even though you're making $500 million on the temporary stock boost, does it mean that long term it's going to be a good thing? It's not rocket science here. And a lot of the stuff hasn't been completely, finalized, or it's just they're saying they're going to do it. And he's out there saying he doesn't think that giving the dividends they're promising shareholders is really smart too. If you look at the balance sheet, they said that he's worried that it might hurt the company more to try to keep their butts in the seats. I look at it this way. Look at what Disney's been like the last several years. Not just right now, not since Bob Iger came back, just the last several years and the ups and downs. And we've gone from really high highs to really low lows. Bob Iger was involved in both. But the reason we had the high highs led to the low lows because of his overspending, because of people on the board and their choices to do different things they've done, I think has led to where the stock bottomed out. And you got to have to do something. We don't have any plan for Iger to be gone. You're just throwing all this, like he said, spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks with people. And it's working because the stock went up. But again, if you could just throw shit on the wall and make announcements, whether or not you follow through and it raises your stocks, why the hell weren't you doing it sooner? But at the end of the day, he does agree that Taylor Swift is a good idea because he's a real fan. I love her. And they said that, well, they can agree with that. They can't argue with that she's, they think that's a good idea. Then you got these idiots. Peltz is just a wealthy guy playing wealthy games with Ike's money, who is only egging on a proxy fight because he's butt hurt. I trust in Iger. Again, I would argue Iger is ass mad because Perlmutter, I don't think he always makes the right decisions. Don't get me wrong. But when the first proxy battle happened, or was going to happen, and Peltz was threatening it last year, Perlmutter backed Peltz. And when Perlmutter backed Peltz, Iger was pissed. So when Peltz, it's a lot of P's, when Peltz decided to not proceed with the proxy battle, and he pulled back because he said, okay, I'll give you a chance. One of the first things Iger did was fire Perlmutter because he was being, what do you call it? He was being butt hurt, and he fired him. And now they're trying to be like, the media is like, oh, because he's just trying to get back at Bob Iger. Iger did it first. If you're going to go with a butt hurt narrative, Iger did it first. I don't trust Iger because I've been around Disney shit for a long time, and Iger is why we're in the position we're in. All right? Whatever. But Black Panther, good. I'm glad your name's Black Panther explains why you trust Iger, because he pats himself on the back about, being the white savior all the time. No gains in 10 years. Disney is the same market value as it was in 2015. Has had around 8 flops in a row and more on the way, and has chosen to waste time with expensive political fights with the nation's most popular governor. I'd say those are valid reasons. I think the politics they need to stay out of. I've said that for a long time. But yes, they've had several movies flop in a row. They're barely break even. Very little profit made on the ones that did, except for maybe Guardians 3. And then their stock is staying where it was. It hasn't. I showed you that. It hasn't really changed much. It's been down for a while. Their $111 is better than $80 a share, obviously. I'm not arguing that. But it's nowhere near what it was just a couple years ago at the same time, because you keep making dumb choices. But whatever. This week we're probably going to see more of a slap fight between Peltz and Disney. That's what it feels like. It's like as soon as one of them puts a letter out, the other one does. Blackwell you hardly hear anything from, and it's all I keep seeing is like those memes where they're two women are just like doing that hand slap at each other. That's what it's like. It's like the Disney slap fight. So what do you think? Please comment, let us know, like and subscribe, and tomorrow it'll go back to normal. I'll talk to you later. Bye.